November! See, I am catching up. It's only, March right now. November was a slower month, so that probably makes things easier for me to edit. Anyway, some really good stuff for sub-release that I want to highlight. So let's just get right into it, no delay. So, this video was originally going to open with the new Wilbur Soot album, and it was going to be like all cool and stuff, but then Wilbur kind of turned out to be a bad guy, so don't listen to his newest album. Moving on. To properly open the video, we have the newest Kitchen record, Breath Too Long. Now, I've actually heard one of James Keegan's other projects before this without even realising. Way back in the far off year of 2015, he released an album under the alias The Loners with parentheses, entitled I Wish Shit Would Stop Spinning, and I liked it a lot. While I wouldn't say it's anything to truly write home about, it is a really nice lo-fi bedroom pop record that scratches an itch in the back of my head. But I'm getting off topic. I listened to Breath Too Long before even realising that he was the same person, and when I did, it made so much sense. This album is such an immensely cozy one. It's nice, warm, and just so inviting. Every song feels like a soft serenade from someone sitting beside you in a bed or by a campfire in the forest, or on a long car journey. Listening to this makes me feel less alone, and I hope it can do the same for you. 9 out of 10. My favourite tracks are Right Away the Morning, Fall, and Kate Was in the Backseat. Major standout with that last one. Dead Air aren't a record label to scoff at. With artists like Jane Remover and Quadeca under their belt, it's clear that they have an eye for talent, so I went into this Quannnic record with high hopes, and I wasn't disappointed. While I wouldn't say this is up to the same par as the other two artists, I still believe there is some major talent here. Stepdream is a love letter to grunge long lost, blended with elements of shoegaze, emo, and even dreamy noise rock. It's passionate and personal, and it shows a lot of promise for Quannic's future. Even if this album isn't perfect, there are some really solid moments such as South and Bryn Mawr, which are just absolutely gorgeous. My biggest gripe is that the album does begin to drag by the middle, but it still ends on a strong note. 8 out of 10. My favourite tracks are South, Comatose, Bryn Mawr, and Rummage. I will always have a soft spot for hyperpop no matter how overdone the genre may be at this point. If it manages to tickle that part of my brain, then I'll listen to it, and I will enjoy it. Wisp's debut album Brumal does exactly that, as while there's nothing groundbreaking or exceptionally new to the scene or genre, it doesn't need to be. The album is just fun, and it keeps my attention for its relatively short runtime. The album is only 31 minutes, and it uses that to create this feeling of childlike wonder, and it really manages to create a sound that is evocative of the album cover. It's just fun shit. 8 out of 10. My favourite tracks are Say Hi Dawn, Tell You Again, Vexatious, Wicked, Stars Align, and Say Bye Brumal. That's a lot of songs, and I'm gonna hate myself because editing that is gonna be annoying. Danny Brown similarly strips himself back musically and goes for a much more lyrically heavy approach on Quaranta. From the opening track, it's made clear that this is a different style for him, but as he also made apparent from the opener, it's a style that works very well for him. Quaranta sees Danny look back at his life now that he's 40 and talk about how far he's come. He feels content in getting to this point, but knows that things have to change. The musical style alone signifies that wonderfully. The album feels mature, and while still has that Danny Brown flair, especially on songs like Tantor and Jen's Terrific Vacation, most of the time the songs remain pretty simple with Danny taking center stage with his rapping and lyrics. It's a pretty simple album, but a very effective one. 8 out of 10. My favourite tracks are Quaranta, YPB, and Jen's Terrific Vacation. This is just purely life-affirming music. There isn't really another way to put it. 2021, that's the artist's name, not the year this released, album, Like a Paper Plane, is such a wonderful album to listen to. It's just so hard to put down. The soundscapes here are layered, dense, luscious, and most importantly, engaging enough to warrant the length of some of these songs. 2021 is the breakbeat project of indie rock artist What Is Your Name. They were an artist that I'd heard of before, but had never really listened to, so this probably wasn't the best place to start, but I don't believe that matters when I enjoyed this project so much, so I'll probably still go and check out their other stuff. There's just so much to enjoy here, whether that's the instantly recognizable samples from many of the songs or the recontextualizations of said samples. It's a compact, masterfully crafted little album that I highly recommend if you need something uplifting and electronic. 9 out of 10. My favourite tracks are Bleeding/Love Story, they have different names on streaming and Bandcamp for some reason, Overhead, and Thank You. Another hidden gem that was recommended to me for this video, and I am so glad I listened to it. Minhwi Lee is an artist I had never heard of before now, but because of this album, I'll be sure to keep an eye out for anything else she makes. In Hometown to Come, she creates some of the most gorgeous soundscapes I've heard all year. Music that is comparable to the likes of Ichika Awoba in atmosphere and just having the ability to make you lose yourself in the world that's been built. The performance throughout the record is impeccable, with the orchestration being lush and gorgeous, and her voice, oh my god, is just beautiful. If you want something to just get lost in, then please check out this album. I just wish it was longer. 9 out of 10. My favourite tracks are Blue Flower, The Station, Lost Land, and Hometown to Come. Many Tiny Boxes is an incredibly intense album. It's one of the most intense albums I've heard all year. While it isn't the most emotionally impactful album I've heard all year, you already know the answer to which one that is, its emotional intensity does not go unnoticed. This entire album feels like a panic attack in one long stream of consciousness that's spat on a wall with residue of saliva and blood. There are remnants of rhythm scattered around these tumultuous soundscapes, but they are far and few between, as it feels like trying to wade through a Persian Gulf flood with each song varying in intensity. This album is difficult to describe, and I feel like it's best to simply go in and listen to it. It's loud, it's anxious, it's aggressive, but by being all of those things, it becomes incredibly cathartic. 8 out of 10. My favourite tracks are Schizo Egomania, Flowers Lie, and Down the Pit. It's Spirit Girls Bitch with a $, and they're here with their latest album, post-disbandment, in The Difference Between Being Gone and Being Lost, and it is an absolute fucking belter. In fact, it's probably one of the best hip-hop albums of the entire year. Yes, it's up there with Scaring the Hose. It blends so many genres that I'm not even going to begin to list. They're on screen, don't worry. And somehow, through all of its immense chaos, it slaps so hard. The lyrics as well are surprisingly well written and engaging with how cryptic and visceral they are. It borders on horrorcore at times, and I love it. This is a really great time and an album that I would highly recommend. 9 out of 10. My favourite tracks are, I'm just gonna say the track numbers because the actual titles are incredibly long and dumb and don't make sense. Tracks 1, 2, 8, and 11. And now we move into the EPs and singles of the month. Not many of either this time around, but they're always worth mentioning. The final entry in the Scrapyard trilogy sends off the EPs in a glorious way. In my opinion, the best of the three. Scrapyard 3 includes the Scrapyard's best songs so far. Even If I Tried is a pretty standard song to begin with heavy production and a lot of influence from the likes of cloud rap and glitch hop, until a beat switch occurs midway through the track which changes the entire flow into something much more interesting. It's dreamy, psychedelic, and feels much more fitting for what's to come next on the EP. We then get Easier, which definitely takes influence from Black Country New Road's The Place From to the Blade, and you cannot change my mind. It's a gorgeous song and by far the best off the project. Much more folk heavy with barely any showcase of hip hop. Guess Who closes it all with an incredibly heavy trap beat which may be a turn off for some, but Quadeca has always shown promise in its production and flow, and this is no exception. All three of these songs are incredibly solid, and I will get to the full Scrapyard project when I reach February, which hopefully will be sooner rather than later. 9 out of 10. To open this relatively short singles section, we have yet another absolute banger from British art rock band Ugly. Hands of Man is another different take on the genre with a heavier focus on aggression and climax, which isn't dissimilar to their single I'm Happy You're Here, but what separates these two is this song follows a much more conventional structure, it's also much shorter. I honestly don't think this band can do any wrong. They are phenomenal. Honestly, from what I've heard from Holter before now, which isn't too much, this is far from what I was expecting. This is incredibly psychedelic and luscious in its layered sounds and use of many different instruments. It's unpredictable, and especially for an album opener, it's quite surprising. I love it though. Its use of repetition with its hypnotic melody and soothing use of reverb just lets it all come together to make a track that feels larger than life and just gorgeous. An absolutely haunting single from The Smile with some of Tom York's iconic vibrato taking centre stage. The song has a distinct sound to it that is incredibly reminiscent of something late Radiohead would do, something off of a moon-shaped pool maybe. And while this song has a lot more going for it than just being Radiohead plus, with its much more psychedelic take on production and wonderfully sprawling instrumentation, I will never get that association out of my mind. The first single for Little Kid's next album, entitled A Million Easy Payments, which I know is out, but I don't care, I'm still talking about the single. It isn't anything inherently new for the band, especially coming off of their previous LP, Transfiguration Highway. In fact, the song wouldn't go amiss on it. Does that make it bad though? No, of course not. I welcome any sound Little Kid have to offer, as honestly, they can hardly do any wrong. The second single from Glass Beach's next album, entitled Plastic Death, which I also know is out now, but I don't care, I'm still talking about the single and repeating myself. This song continues the trend from the previous track with its very mathy and emo feel, but with a much more laid back feel. None of that post-hardcore shit. Honestly, it works really nicely. A lot happens in this song and it feels much longer than it actually is, much like the previous song. I haven't actually listened to Plastic Death yet, but the singles have got me really excited to, as both of them have offered so much promise and spectacle, especially compared to their debut album. To close this shorter than usual video, we have the second single from Everything Everything's Mountainhead, which I also know is out, but I don't care, I want to talk about the song Yada Yada. While this song doesn't reach the same absolutely insane heights as Cold Reactor does, it definitely isn't far off. Just the chorus alone is enough to remind me the exact reason I adore this band. I can never get enough of Higgs's fast singing. It's just so earwormy, and the way this entire song is performed and sung, it feels hypnotic. I feel like I'm in a trance and I'm never going to leave. Another absolute banger from EE. What else is there to say? And with that, we close another comedically late video, but I will catch up. I am getting there, I promise. But I hope you enjoyed this video anyway, and maybe you still found something to listen to, who knows. I probably won't do a video for December, I'm not entirely sure yet, only because literally I can't find anything that released in that month, or at least enough to warrant a full video. When I do my full year, my top 25 albums of the year, I'll obviously include albums from December, but otherwise I will probably just go to January now, so we'll be entering 2024 finally in April. Either way, it doesn't matter. I hope you enjoyed this video either way, so go and like and subscribe and comment. And oh, important thing to mention probably, I have a TikTok now, which you can go and follow. On there, I'll be uploading segments of these longer videos, specifically just like specific albums or maybe singles. So if you don't want to watch the full video, you can just go on there and watch just those if you want. I don't know, I'm not gonna stop you. I've already uploaded a couple. One of them is from the previous video, I think. One is already from this video, so you would have already seen that if you already follow it, and one doesn't exist anywhere. That was made specially for TikTok because I wanted views. It was also because I liked the song, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So yeah, go check that out. And other than that, there isn't really anything else to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. All the reviews will be in the description as usual. And yeah, that's all. That's it. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.